Hi there, greetings. Welcome to Spark Genius Academy with Polite. So on this lesson, this is our first lesson on laws of exponents. So let's go through some of the laws of exponents that you need to know and how to apply them when you work on questions. So the first law, it has to do with when you are multiplying the same base. So let's say that we have x to the power n, which is multiplied by x to the power m. So the base are the same. So now, before we go through these laws, let's not make mistake. Let's explain this. If I have a to the power n, what I need you to understand is that this a is your base, and this n on top is your exponent. Right, I hope everyone is with me on that. So now this whole thing here, we're going to call this whole thing a power. So this is a power. Right, if you are hit with that, now we can continue with the loss, so that when I say the base, you understand what I'm referring to. So when the base are the same, we add the exponent. We can write this as one base, then we take the n, we multiply, we take the n, we add it with what? With m. When you are multiplying the same base, you add the exponent. Okay, so the second law of exponent that I want us to discuss, it has to do with dividing the same base. So when we divide the same base, what do we do to the exponents? We subtract them. But please, let me write this in this way. It's x to the power n over x to the power m. So this is equals to x. We take the exponent of the 1 on top, then you subtract the exponent of the 1 on bottom. So when the base are the same, what do we do to the exponent? We subtract them. I hope this makes sense. Right. Law number 3. So if you have a power, remember we said a power, it will be x to the power n, and that power is raised to the exponent. What you need to do here, just multiply the two. You just have to take this n and that, you multiply those exponents. So let's quickly do that, and then this will be x to the power n. We need to take that n, multiply it with m. I hope this makes sense. So now anything, the law number 4, anything to the power 0 is 1. Anything to the power 0 is 1. So when you see 100 to the power 0, just know that this is 1. 2 to the power 0 is 1. Okay, so now let's move to law number 5. Law number 5, it has to do with negative exponent, because you can't leave your answer as a negative exponent. So if it's like this, we need to say this is 1 over everything that you have without the sign. So this will be x, then you put the 1 on top without the sign. So I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say I have x squared to the power negative 2. So this thing, if we write it in positive exponent, is going to be 1 over everything without that negative. I hope you guys understand what is going on. So now if we keep going, how about if we have this thing in this form? So let's say that this is 1 over that x to the power minus 1. What will this be equals to? So when it's like this, when the negative is on the number that is on your denominator, you just have to write this like this. You just have to write this in this way. You're going to say whatever that you have on the denominator without what? without the sign. So this is just x without the sign. So another example that we can work on is like saying we have 1 over, let's say this is 1 over x to the power minus n. So what will that be equals to? This is just everything that you have on the denominator without the sign. So this will just be x to the power n. Right, so let's keep on discussing this laws of exponent. Okay, so now if we keep on working on this laws, the next one that I want us to discuss, let's put it in this box here. Okay, so let's say I have m, the root of n. Right, let's say instead of saying the root of n, this is x to the power n. X to the power n. So I'm going to equate this. I'm going to equate this to, remember, this will be x. Then you take whatever number that you have outside the square root, the number that is there, this number here, you take it, it's going to be your numerator. You write it on top. Then you divide by whatever exponent that you have. This is n. So this is how we remove the start. This is how we remove the start. So the last thing that I want us to discuss on the laws of exponents, it has to do with, let's say I have this as 3 to the x. So if this is 3 to the x and this is equated to the negative number. So if this is equated to a negative, let's say a negative number, what I need you to know is that this equation, there's nothing you can do. The x does not exist. So this is not applicable. Right, this is not applicable. And that's it for the laws of exponents. These are the laws of exponents that you need to understand. So hopefully, I'm looking forward to our next lesson where we're going to work on examples so that you can understand how to apply the laws of exponents. And that's it for this lesson. Okay, I just realized that instead of ending the lesson, we should just work more on example, because we can't just uh, do the laws of exponents then end the lesson. Then we need to work on something. Let's talk about this. Let me give you guys the general notes to make this lesson more interesting. Let me give you guys the general notes. So now let's say the base are equal. So if the base are equal and I have 3 to the power 7, that is multiplied by 3 to the power 5. The base are the same. What do we do to the exponent? We add them. So this will be 3 to the power 7 plus 5. So 3 to the power 7 plus 5 is 3 to the power 12. So this can be written as 3 to the power 12. So the base stays the same. Right. So, and we also talked about dividing. If I have 3 to the power 10 and this is over, let's say this is over 3 to the power 4. What is this equals to? Remember, we take the number on top, then we subtract the number on bottom. This is just 3 to the power 6. So the base also stays the same. Right. So now another example. Remember, now we are applying the laws of exponents. So another example that we can discuss. Let's say I have 2 to the power 9. That is multiplied by 3 to the power 9. So look at this. This time we don't have the same base, but what do we have? We have the same exponents. So when you have the same exponents, you can write this in this form. You can take this number and that number, multiply them inside the bracket. So this will be 2. Remember, the dot means multiplication. So this will be 2 multiplied by 3. Close the bracket, then write that exponent on top, because these two exponents are the same. So when you have the same exponents, what do? You multiply your base. Right, so this is the same as saying this is 6. 2 times 3 is 6 to the power 9. Right, please make sure that you move with me on this one, because whatever that we are doing, you'll have to apply them when simplifying exponents. So whatever is the same stays the same. That's what we learned from these 3 examples. Whatever, let's write this down so that you don't forget it in an exam. We are saying that whatever is the same whatever is the same stays the same. I'm very sorry guys, I'm not sure what's the issue with my blackboard, but I'll try to fix the issue after this lesson before I prepare the next lesson. So now this is what we call the general notes. Now let's talk about the fractions and exponents, so that we can go through what we did on the previous one. So on fractions and exponents, let's say we have 7 to the power minus 2. We said that if you have this, is going to be 1 over everything without the negative. So this is just 1 over 7 squared. So this is just 1 over 7 squared. So now remember, any number stand over an invisible. That's what we note. If any number stays under an invisible. So I'm just gonna try you another method. Let me explain another method that you can use so that you don't forget this. Let's say I have 7 to the power negative 2. So you're going to take that 7 to the power 2, because we know that any number is going to stand to what? An invisible 1. Okay, then any number is also being multiplied by an invisible 1. Okay, so now when it's like this, we do the reciprocal of this. The reciprocal means that you interchange your denominator and also your numerator. So the 1 comes on top, then what you have on the denominator comes on bottom. But what happens to the sign? The sign changes. So the sign will become what? The sign will become positive 2. So the 7 to the power minus 2 goes to the bottom and it becomes positive. I hope this makes sense. So let's say that we have this as 1 over 7 to the power negative 2. So look at this. We have the negative. So now what will happen is that we need to interchange this and say what is on top becomes on bottom, and what do we have on bottom becomes on top. But if it has a negative exponent, the exponent changes. So this is the same as saying 7 to the power 2, which is just divided by 1, which is just 7 to the power 2. I hope this makes sense, guys, because it's very important that you understand this one. So if any number goes up or down, the sign of the exponent changes. That's what we learned on this one. So let's write this down. We are saying that if a number, okay, so if a number goes up or down, if a number goes up or down, the sign of the exponent, changes. So I realize that it's best we continue with this lesson, because I don't want us to discuss these things on the next exponent. I just want us to dive into examples, to work on more complicated examples. So we are saying that if a number goes up or down, what happens to the sign of the exponent? The sign of the exponent changes. So the last thing that I need you guys to understand on this lesson is what we call the roots. How to remove the root, because in most cases when you solve, you need to be able to remove the root. So if, let's say, I have x to the power 1 over 2, so if I have this like this, I can write this as the square root, then the x is inside the square root, then whatever that you have on your denominator, that 2 comes outside, and then the 1 on top, it's going to be the exponent of whatever that you have inside the square root. So this tells you that this is the same as root x, right? Because this 2 here, this 2 is represented by that square root. The square root is the 2, so there's an invisible 2 there. So you don't have to write the 2. Right. So now let's say I have x to the power 1 over 3. Remember, we are saying that if it's like this, we write the square root, then the x inside the square root, the exponent of the x inside the square root will be that number on top, then the 3 comes outside. So this is just 3 the root x. You just have to leave it like that. Right. Thank you very much, guys, for sitting in on the lesson. I'll see you guys on the next lesson. If you liked the lesson, please make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss the next lesson. So on the next lesson, we're going to talk about simplification of exponents.